Congress routinely fails to pass the appropriation bills to keep the government funded. They'll pass short-term funding measures we call CR, continuing resolutions. We've got one of those deadlines coming up in March very soon. And if Congress can't agree to keep the funding flowing, the government will shut down. So, clearly nutty behavior to shut down your government. What do other countries do? I mean, do they have an annual appropriation process? Do they fund their governments automatically? Do they just find the idea of shutting their own governments down unthinkable, so they just don't do what we do? I mean, how did this phenomenon come about here, and what do other countries think about it, and how do they avoid it?
Well, how it came about here, you have to go back to 1789. Our separation of powers here between the executive, legislative, and judicial is much stronger and set up to be much stronger than any other country that I know of. That said, I don't think we had shutdowns historically up until the 1970s maybe, or maybe it was even the 1980s. I don't think we had shutdown. But the separation of powers and the not just separation of powers, but the disagreement between the parties being so strong. However, having said that, I remember talking to people trying to explain, well, yes, we occasionally have a day, 2 days, sometimes a little bit longer of a shutdown, but then the appropriation gets passed. What does it mean? Take a step back to the US government funding of appropriations, considering shutdowns. How has that had an impact on the operation of programs? I think, I spent some time at the General Accounting Office, otherwise known as now currently the Government Accountability Office. And you take a look at their reports, and the shutdowns actually don't have, I don't think, that much of an impact, perhaps all on the actual operation of programs. What it does, I believe, similar to the debt limit. And debt limits, no other country has a debt limit. I think Denmark has one, but they never use it. But no other country is basically force a political process that is very different and force it to come together. So I look at shutdowns not in the negative perspective that most people do. Don't get me wrong, I don't think they're good. I'm not promoting shutdowns in any sense of the word, but I don't know that they really have that much impact over the longer term running of government programs. The same thing with the debt limit. We haven't defaulted yet. I don't think we're ever going to default. What it is in our unusual, maybe crazy budgetary system, an action forcing event.